Tsunami, an educational video. This educational video is about tsunamis, how they happen, why they happen, their consequences, and so on. This is what we're specifically going to talk about and educate you on. The definition of a tsunami. How and why tsunamis occur. The consequences of tsunamis, both at the exact moment of impact and afterwards on society and the earth. How can we prepare for tsunamis? How do we prepare around the world? Also, can tsunamis be a resource or something positive? Interesting and relevant thing to know, the Ring of Fire is a string of volcanoes and sites of seismic activity, or earthquakes, around the edges of the Pacific Ocean. Roughly 90% of all earthquakes occur along the Ring of Fire, and the ring is dotted with 75% of all active volcanoes on Earth. The Ring of Fire looks like this. The definition of a tsunami is an unusually large sea wave produced by a sea quake or undersea volcanic eruption. Tsunamis can also be referred to as a seismic sea wave. A tsunami is a series of large waves generated by an abrupt movement on the ocean floor that can result from an earthquake, an underwater landslide, a volcanic eruption, or very rarely a large meteorite strike. However, powerful undersea earthquakes are responsible for most tsunamis. Seismologists say only earthquakes measuring greater than 7.0 on the Richter scale can produce a major tsunami. Most earthquakes that generate tsunamis occur in areas called subduction zones, where pieces of the Earth's crust press against each other. Subduction means that one tectonic plate slides beneath another and sinks deep into the Earth's mantle, which is a layer between the crust and the outer core. If you look at the screen, you can see a picture which easily explains this phenomenon. The friction between two slow-moving plates of the Earth's crust creates seismic energy which is released in the form of an earthquake. When a strong undersea earthquake strikes a relatively short distance below the sea floor, it abruptly pushes up one of the immense plates of the Earth's crust. It suddenly displaces an enormous amount of ocean water, which becomes a tsunami, heading outward in every direction from the center of an earthquake. Tsunamis generated in the open ocean appear to be only small waves, but they can grow quickly in size as they reach shallow water before crashing into seacoast settlements. Waves up to 9 meters high have been recorded on numerous occasions, and tsunamis up to 30 meters high are believed to have occurred in the past. Damage is usually worst in the areas closest to the undersea quake, often because the fast-moving waves will hit land so quickly. Tsunamis radiate out from the site of an undersea quake nearly as fast as a jet airliner can travel. Tsunamis not only destroy human life, but have a devastating effect on insects, animals, plants, and natural resources. A tsunami changes the landscape. It uproots trees and plants and destroys animal habitats. Land animals are killed by drowning and sea animals are killed by pollution if dangerous chemicals are washed away into the sea. The impact of a tsunami on the environment relates not only to the landscape and animal life, but also to building and such created by humans. Solid waste and disaster debris are the most critical environmental problem faced by a tsunami-hit country. Pollution of soil and water is a second key environmental impact of a tsunami. Salination of water bodies such as rivers, wells, inland lakes, and groundwater aquifers can occur in most cases. This also affects the soil fertility of agricultural lands, due to salination and debris contamination, which will affect yields in the medium and long term. Sewage, septic tanks and toilets are damaged, contaminating the water supply. Last but not least, there may be radiation resulting from damage to nuclear plants, as it happened in Japan in March 2011. Since radiation exists for a long time, it has the ability to inflict damage upon anything exposed to it. Radiation is most dangerous to animals and humans since the damage caused by radiation to the DNA structure determines birth defects, cancers, even death. One of the biggest and worst effects of a tsunami is the cost to human life because unfortunately escaping a tsunami is nearly impossible. Hundreds and thousands of people are killed by tsunamis. Since 1850 alone, tsunamis have been responsible for the loss of more than 430,000 lives.
Oh, hell no!
There is very little warning before a tsunami hits land. As the water rushes toward land, it leaves very little time to map an escape plan. People living in coastal regions, towns and villages have no time to escape. The violent force of the tsunami results in instant death, most commonly by drowning. Buildings collapsing, electrocution, and explosions from gas, damaged tanks and floating debris are another cause of death. Massive costs hit communities and nations when a tsunami happens. Victims and survivors of the tsunami need immediate help from rescue teams. Governments around the world may help with the cost of bringing aid to devastated areas. National institutions, the United Nations, other international organizations, community groups, and a variety of other organizations come together to provide different kinds of aid and services. There may also be appeals and donations from people who have seen pictures of the area in the media. Reconstruction and clean-up after a tsunami is a huge cost problem. Infrastructure must be replaced, unsafe buildings demolished and rubbish cleared. Loss of income in the local economy and future losses from the destruction of infrastructure will be a problem for some time to come. The total financial cost of a tsunami could be millions or even billions of dollars of damage to coastal structures and habitats. How do you know when a tsunami occurs? How does the warning system work? When is a warning issued? There are a whole bunch of monitors around the planet that are set up to record earthquakes, and if these are large enough, they may generate tsunamis. In addition to earthquake sensors, dart buoys or tsunami buoys float on the deep ocean in different places around the world. They are specially set up to detect and record the passing of a tsunami wave. As soon as the wave passes that point, you know how long it's taken to get from the source and how big the wave is at that point, so you have some idea of what's coming. Islands have tide gauges too, which help track a wave across the Pacific. After a lot of research, we came to the conclusion that there aren't really any positive effects of a tsunami, nor can it really be used for anything. A tsunami does enormous damage to coastal areas, destroying buildings and killing people. But it would clear a place for new buildings to be built, and it slows greenhouse emissions as factories are closed, also reduces world population, which is rising very fast. But at the same time, any of the perceived benefits stated would be more than offset. Clearing those buildings would almost certainly mean loss of life, home and workplace. The greenhouse emissions produced replacing those factories and buildings would be greater than those the factories previously produced. The deaths caused would have no measurable impact on the overall population rate of increase. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of this video. Hopefully you've learned a lot. The audio for this educational video was produced by Mike the Internet Robot. That is me.
1, 2, 3, profile.